SFB Addict here. A while ago I made a welcome to Windows Refugees posting on Reddit in the Linux Noobs category. I just want to make a quick little video here on the backup. So even if your machine is toast, often your hard drive will be good. So you can take that hard drive out, stick it in another machine, and recover your data. Now, before your machine becomes toast, if you have any backup software and you've done a backup, if there's a verify feature to that software, use it. The number of times I've seen people say, oh yeah, I've got a backup, and then it comes time to actually grab information from that backup, and the backup actually isn't there, or it hasn't actually been created or contains anything. It's too numerous to count. So, when you do a backup, you will want to do a backup to an external device. You do not want to back up your Windows stuff to your existing C drive on your Windows machine. If you lose your C drive, you lose your backup. In fact, if you do a backup to an external machine, it's actually a good idea not to store your external drive that you've done that backup to in the exact same room or location as the actual machine itself. If a fire happens in that room, it can toast both the machine and the backup of your data. You want to separate your machine and your backup, preferably off-site. So if the entire building goes up, you still have your data someplace else. Now, when you're moving things onto your external device or your cloud account or wherever or however you're going to be doing your backup, just be aware that some things that you're backing up are going to be very large. Like music collections are often very large, picture collections are often very large, and video collections are often very large in size. Okay, so what really should you back up? Well, you're switching over to Linux. So the programs you're running on Windows itself aren't going to be the same programs on Linux. Now you can actually run those programs some of the times on Linux under Wine, but you're not going to be backing up the actual folders on the C drive. You're going to want to have the installation program files. So if there is an install.exe for a particular program, that is what you're going to want to back up, not the actual program once it's been installed. Although if you're backing up older programs that are self-contained to an actual folder and they aren't using common libraries and that sort of thing, often older DOS type programs are like that, sometimes you can just back up the entire folder. But it's the install files that you want. And the other things you're going to want are your documents, your pictures, your movies, your music, and things of that nature. Unfortunately, sometimes these are really hard to find in Windows. Things like emails, or browser profiles, or bookmarks. Now typically, it's going to be under C Documents and Settings, your username, and then whatever it is you're looking for. Or it's going to be under your user profile, / and then whatever it is you're looking for. So that's how things changed in Windows as you went from 95 to 98 XP, Windows 7. They started changing where things are. So, desktop stuff, anything that's on the desktop, is going to be located under Documents and Settings, username, desktop. Your favorites are going to be, if you're using Internet Explorer, are going to be Documents, Setting, username, favorites. The My Documents folder will be C Documents and Settings, username, My Documents. And the same thing with music and video or pictures. Then we get into email. Well, there's more than one email program for Microsoft. They had Outlook Express, and then they had Outlook, and then they have Outlook for Office 2010, 2013, 2016. So some of the things you're going to want are your address book, which is going to contain your contacts. So for Outlook Express, it's under Document Settings, username Application Data /Microsoft /address book. And sometimes your address book is contained in a PST file, especially for 2010 onward. So you have to click the File tab, and then Account Settings, Data tab, click any entry there, click Open Folder Location, and then it'll usually be users, username, app data, local, Microsoft, Outlook, or user profile app data /local. And for 2013 and 16, it's users, username, documents, Outlook files. And the actual emails themselves, as opposed to your contacts, are going to be under Document Settings, username, local settings, application data, identities, and alphanumeric string, Microsoft, Outlook Express. And it's going to be even different still for Outlook 2003. It'll be document setting, usernames, application data, Microsoft, Outlook. And then you've got to use some commands in Linux to actually get that information out of those files into a file that your Linux Thunderbird or Claws or other email program can actually read. And those are usually a VCF file. Now, you can pull these out one by one if you're just doing like 5 or 6. But if you've got a massive number of them, you can't do it one by one. You need a bulk import. And the commands to do that are these ones right here. And then you can import them from the mycontacts.vcf file into the particular program you're using. Now, if you've got multiple users on your Windows machine, it's not going to just be one particular username that you're going to have to pull these files for. It'll be from multiple users. And another thing you need to look out for is sometimes the folders or directory that you're looking for will be a hidden folder. So first you need to enable show hidden files and folders on your Windows system. And there is a How to Geek document on how to do that. And there's also a How to Geek article on where to find your PST file. And that document at How to Geek will show you the various versions, 95, 98, etc. Now, when you're doing this migration, it's a really good idea to have access to the internet on a second computer. Because if anything goes wrong, you can use that computer to then look up how to fix the issue or problem. And when it comes to installing from something that you've downloaded, like an ISO file that you've burned to a CD or DVD, often on those disks there is a test disk integrity or installation media or test memory or a test hard disk option that's on the disk. You should run those, because if you're using a bad copy or a bad burned copy, it'll be a bad installation. If you're trying to install onto a machine that's got bad RAM, that'll mess things up. If you're trying to install into a hard disk that's got bad sectors, that can mess things up. So if you ever do encounter any sort of errors doing that, make sure you run those tests. And as the last thing for this little video, I'll say that when you're switching from Windows to Linux, it might help some users to have the same desktop wallpaper as their wallpaper in Linux as they had on Windows, to help them psychologically just a little bit to get used to the new system. Well, that's it for this video. Have a good day.